Gaurav, keep taking us through what you're seeing around you.
Right now, the India Today reporter, I am right at the front lines, and this is where you have the Israeli army artillery position. You can see those guns one after the other. There, that officer and the team, they're loading that gun there. Behind me, that other gun position, and one after the other, these multiple guns are booming and targeting Hamas targets. This is right at the front lines. We are right now barely a couple of kilometers from the Gaza Strip. In fact, you can see Gaza with the naked eye from where I am standing. These guns have now been, this is a dugout gun position. It's a proper artillery gun position where 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guns, which means this is an important position. These 8 guns are now targeting Hamas strongholds. What you have here behind me are guns that are decimating. There you see. These guns that are firing, they're decimating Hamas leadership bases based on inputs that they're getting. Now, in the skies above, you can also see drones that are constantly keeping an eye. Drones that are constantly keeping an eye on every movement and where the shells are landing. In case the shells are not landing exactly where they're meant to land, then a correction is given and then another round is fired. This is systematically punishing the Hamas. This is exactly what the Israeli army is doing right now. And we are at the front lines of this war. Israel's war on radical Islamist terror, Israel's war on Hamas. There has been some criticism of area weapons that are being used because a shell like that, one like the one that you see right behind me, when this falls, it causes a lot of damage. But as far as Israel is concerned, the officers we've spoken to, they are very clear that they are destroying Hamas strongholds. Their main aim today is to target some of those tunnels where the Hamas uses those tunnels to ferry, transport not just terrorists but also rockets that have been targeting towns like Ashkelon and Sridot, where I am right now. Some of these rockets, Hamas continues even today to have the capability to target these locations. And today there has been some loss of life and property in Sridot, where I was just a short while back, and police and the army are asking people to evacuate very quickly. People are being asked to evacuate because there is an apprehension as this artillery attack, this artillery assault intensifies. As this artillery assault intensifies on Hamas strongholds, there will be some positions from where they will hit back. They will also target the Israeli towns and cities, and Sridot and Ashkelon are 2 places they would target. In Sridot, people are being asked to move to safer locations. Some houses have been damaged, some people have been hurt. Now police are going door to door asking people to move. Buses are going to be requisitioned, cars are being requisitioned, volunteers are being called in to ask people to move out of this area. We were also asked to move out of this area by the army and the police. They said it's not safe to be here because when there is an artillery attack like the one that's taking place, there is what is known as CB or counter bombardment that takes place. Of course, that happens more in the case of an organized army because an organized army then uses its weapon locating radars to strike back. In this case, we do not know if Hamas has those kinds of capabilities, but Hamas does have the capability to strike. That is why you also have their air defense system in place for if more terrorists want to come in from hang gliders, they will be hanged, as one of the officers told me. He said this is our Pearl Harbor moment. America was surprised in Pearl Harbor, then America destroyed the perpetrators of the Pearl Harbor attack. He said this is what has happened to us. We've woken up. We were in deep slumber. We've woken up, but now we will completely decimate the enemy, which is the Hamas, which is what these guns right behind me are doing right now. Akshata.
Gaurav reporting there from the trenches, very, very close to where the artillery has been deployed by the Israeli troops there. And they're firing, and we hear that, Gaurav, every few seconds that you're talking to us, we can hear another big bang, another big boom as the Israeli guns continue to fire at Gaza. Can you explain to us some of, the artillery, the weaponry that Israel is using that you see behind you? Be careful out there, Gaurav.
Yeah, because every time you stand up, you're advised to just sit down. Also be alert of your surroundings, because we may have to move out of this area very quickly in case Hamas rockets try and target this fixed gun position. So Israel has both it's the gun that's booming right behind me is a tracked 155mm howitzer. It's on tracks. It moves on its own. It doesn't have to be towed. It can go very quickly in desert territory because of the tracks, like in tanks. Like Indian Army has its K9 Vajra, again 155mm tracked howitzer. You also have towed guns which have to be towed, and these gun positions are being dug out even as we speak. So you can make out how Israel is not just preparing for this war, but actually going into this war live as we see it in front of our eyes. Like, look, on one side you have these guns that are booming. I want to just move a little ahead to be able to show you that gun position. There you see, there is that bulldozer. That bulldozer is carving out a gun position. You can see that bulldozer is trying to carve out a gun position. And there you see these soldiers right behind me. They've fired. Their shells are all on the ready, and they're ready for the next round of assault. So you have one gun position dug out here with their ammunition ready, the other gun position there. Then there is that earth mover which is carving out the next gun. Each gun is also protected so that in case there's a counter bombardment, these guns are not directly in the line of enemy fire. Of course, Israel is not taking on an organized enemy like an organized army. So unlike, for example, when India was fighting Pakistan in Kargil, Pakistan had weapon locating radars, and when our 155mm howitzers would boom, the Pakistanis would use their weapon locating radars and they would fire back at our gun positions very accurately. Fortunately for the Israeli forces, Hamas does not have that capability. However, there is still an apprehension, and in Israel it's a very real threat that somebody here could be guiding or helping the Hamas, and that is why everyone is looked at very suspiciously, and that is why people like we've been given clearance to come to these front lines because we have a military clearance identity card like this one. This is very essential if you need to come to the front lines. Only if you have this card are you cleared. Your point, which talks about the army here and the foreign ministry here have cleared you to be in the battle zone. So after that, I have come here to this area, and this is right at the front line. So just behind me are also you see these tracked guns. You hear the helicopters, and there are also the unmanned aerial vehicles on top which are assessing the damage caused across. Once you know the damage caused across, you can then decide how you need to fire the next gun or the gun after that. This is pulverizing the enemy or softening the enemy before the infantry and armored assault. So all indications are it's only a matter of time now that the Israeli army would move into Gaza. You've softened the targets. You've ensured that the enemy will keep his head down as these guns fire. And once this happens, then the tanks I just showed you, the tanks and the armored personnel carriers, they will go into the territory in Gaza, and they will then go, from what I have been told by one of the officers, that they will go and decimate what remains of Hamas. Their people are being told, leaflets are being dropped across, announcements are being made even across, clear that area, the Israeli army is only going to decimate Hamas. Israeli army will do nothing to civilians. And right now, this pulverization. So there are two things that could be happening right now with the frequency of this barrage. Okay, so there you see more military vehicles, more military convoys going in front in every which way. So overall you can make out that the effort is to ensure that they are able to completely then decimate the enemy. Also look here, I want to show you helicopters that are keeping an eye on all movement that is taking place. So this is a multi-dimensional offensive. This is a multi-dimensional approach that Israel is adopting. Israel's only aim is to decimate the Hamas, is to ensure that Hamas is no longer a potent and credible threat. So now we're being told to move out of here because it's not safe. Yes, sir. So now we're being told to move out of this place because it's not safe to be here, and the army does not want any civilians in this area. The apprehension is, one, there could be counter bombardment. Two, they're also apprehensive that somebody could be giving information across. One of the officers we were speaking to said there are those who claim to be friends but are not friends. There you see, that's how close the guns are booming here at the southernmost tip of Israel.